Hello, grammarians. Miss Chris here. Today we're going to learn how to define and identify the parts of a sentence, specifically the main part, which you already know, and the add-on part. So let's get to it. Let's do a quick review. A sentence is a subject, right? The person or thing that's doing the action, the predicate, which is the verb part of sentence, and of course it needs to be a complete idea. It could also be as simple as Rosa sat. Rosa would be the subject. Sitting is what she is doing. So if you ever forget when we're referring to a main part of a sentence, that's the basic sentence, a subject, and a predicate. That is the main part. So as in another example, Rosa Parks, subject, helped plan the Montgomery bus boycott. So Rosa Parks is the subject, helped is the verb, but the whole predicate is helped plan the Montgomery bus boycott. Together, the subject and the predicate, that creates the main part of the sentence. So the subject and the main action creates the main part of a sentence. Dr. King fought for justice. What did he do? He fought. Now the question is, this is a very basic sentence. How do we make a basic sentence more complex? There's a few things that we can do. The first thing that we're going to do is add something on. Now you'll want to include this in your reading guide or your guided notes. Add-on parts do a few things. It gives more information, details, and reasons. Ooh, look, I'm underlining here. That's one main thing it does. It's usually placed at the end of a sentence, hence it's called adding on. You add on at the end. And oftentimes it's signaled with a comma. It could also be a preposition or this word that we're going to review, conjunction. The last thing you want to know is that it's dependent, meaning it cannot stand on its own. So meaning it would be a fragment. If we left it on its own, it would be a fragment. It's dependent. It can't stand up by itself because it doesn't really make sense alone without context. Why don't you go ahead and pause the video to get down your notes. All right, as a review, a conjunction is a word that connects sentences and clauses together. It connects different parts of a sentence together is another way of looking at it. So it might connect a main part to an add-on part. If you don't have this in your notes, you want to make sure that you get it down. The three main conjunctions that we've already learned: because, a reason why something's true; but, a U-turn or a change in direction; and so, a cause and effect, a result of something else. Go ahead and get these in your notes. Now, this is where things get a little more interesting. So Dr. King was arrested. We could put a period right here, right? Dr. King was arrested, period. We would have our subject, Dr. King, and we'd have our predicate, was arrested. That's a perfectly fine sentence. Has a subject, has a predicate, and it makes sense. But remember, we want to start adding on to make our sentences more interesting and more complex. So we're going to add on using but, because, and so. Dr. King was arrested because he marched for justice. Dr. King was arrested, but he kept using nonviolence. And Dr. King was arrested so other African Americans could be free. We're using these conjunctions, because, but, and so, to add on to the main part of our sentence. Now, why don't you try in your handout? I go to school because, I go to school but, and I go to school so. Remember that the main part of the sentence here is I go to school. We could put a period here, right? It would make sense. I would be the what? Go to school would be the what? We're adding on using these conjunctions. I go to school because, I go to school but, I go to school so. Now let's try this again. Remember, the main part of a sentence has the subject and the predicate. Subject, thing doing the action. We is the person doing it, us. Have, this is the verb. The predicate being have three branches of government. Remember, we could put a period here, it would make sense. So we don't need this stuff, but we're adding on to make it more complex. So why don't you go ahead and fill this out on your handout. We have three branches of government because, but, and so. Really nice, longer, complex sentences. Go ahead and pause and come back when you're done. All right, friends, this is the final test. Why don't you go ahead and finish these sentences for me by adding a predicate, starting with that verb, the main part of a sentence, blank, a conjunction, blank, the add-on part, blank, and I learned blank. Awesome job, everyone. I look forward to seeing what you got. Come and show me. We'll check it off.